Welcome to Save for the Story podcast, where books and snacks are life. And welcome to Bookish Bites 2. I'm Nicole.
I'm Vanessa. And yes, I have things.
All right,
Yes.
good, because all my things are about the book itself.
Okay.
And yes.
All right, so we're gonna we'll just jump right in to bonus bites 2. Like we've told you in the last one, this one's not gonna have any of our upfront talking. We're just it'll be long enough on its own. Don't you worry.
Yes.
Okay. So I have some like updates and stuff from things that we talked about in the first episode. One of them is something because I mispronounced a word and our dear listener decided to tell me about it.
You got called out?
Yes, by our one specific dear listener.
Right.
And it was because I said Rutgers College instead of Rutgers College. But I'm gonna tell you, as soon as and this was in reference to the Twilight courses that you could take at colleges.
Right.
I'll tell you right now, the second I said it, I was like, that's not right. And I just kept on pushing. So
Right.
it's fine.
Neither of us went there, so.
No, exactly. And I knew that it was Rutgers, whatever. But for some reason, as I was reading the word, it just like came out as Rutgers. So you know what? That's that.
You know what, listeners? Don't make fun of Vanessa's accent.
That's right. Is that it? I don't know if it's an accent or if I'm just dumb and can't read. And then the second thing that I need to fix from the first episode is I said, so that other book, one of the books that we're not going to read, the novella, The Second Life of Bree Tanner.
Mm-hmm.
I think I had said that Bree Tanner shows up in book 4 and like you meet her there. Well, my sister reminded me that you actually see her in book 3, Eclipse, but you don't even actually really meet her. She's just kind of there and then she's gone. And so
Okay.
I don't know why Stephanie Meyer decided to pick that character to move forward with for the novella, but either way, a little fix from that episode is that Bree Tanner's in book 3, not book 4.
Oh, well, oops.
So those are the only 2 fixes that I know of from the first one.
Nice.
Yeah. So then I do have a couple of listener feedback things for you, though.
Sweet.
Okay.
I'm really enjoying all this. Like, we're getting to the point where we get listener feedback.
Yeah,
Someone correct us. And...
Right. Thanks. So the first one is just from my sister. And she was super into the idea that you came up with about Bella being a relief for Edward. Like neither of us, I think I said that in the episode too, that I had never thought of it like that. But when she heard you say that, she was like, oh my God, that is so true. So some validation for your theory.
Yes. Yeah. I just imagine, like I know what you said before, but like you just like, have you ever been in like a room of like screaming children?
Yes.
And then you leave and you're like, oh my God, like, thank you so much.
This is what silence feels like.
This is so nice. That's kind of how I think that, So I know I mentioned it a different way, but as soon as you said it, I was like, yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just, it's such a good theory. I just never thought of it like that. So my sister would like to give you all of the validation.
Yes. Thanks, Vanessa's sister.
You're welcome. Okay. And then the other one is an email, and I'm going to read it to you.
Sweet.
Okay. Okay. She says, I first loved that Nicole tried to skim Bella's POV. I laughed really hard when you said that. She says, it's been a while since I have read them because I also saw the movie first and then read all the books. I thought that she says what she says to hurt Charlie was because she didn't want Charlie to go question the Cullens. And if Charlie was mad at her, it would be her fault and not Edward's, which is actually a really good. I think we were questioning, like, why in the hell was she so mean to him and like all of that. But it makes sense that if she makes it seem like it's Edward's fault, he would then go question everybody.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So good point there, listener. And then, she says, hearing you guys break it down makes me want to reread them. I also didn't remember that Rosalie and Jasper were supposed to be twins. And then lastly, she says, I also need to know how the movie watching went. Please. So thank you, listener, for emailing us. We want more insight. Tell us what we did right or what we said wrong, and then also information that you might have for the upcoming books. But as she asked, how did the Twilight watching go, Nicole?
So I'll preface here with, like, it's been almost a month, so like the edges of my edges have dulled. It's not fresh in my brain anymore. I did take notes on my phone, and when I knew we were coming back in here, I was like, I'll pop open my notes and like go through those really quick. I took 4 notes during the whole movie.
Okay, so not that many.
Not that many.
Okay.
So I guess overall the movie was fine. I can see why millions of 15-year-olds or however old were like, oh my god, this is the best movie ever. From my perspective, I thought a lot of it was awkward.
Very.
But, yeah, I mean, am I ever gonna watch the movie again? No. But
fair. Do you think the awkwardness came from just the actors themselves, or like how they were portraying the characters? What do you think?
Yeah, I know I've told you this. I don't think I don't watch TV or movies that much. So like when Patterson comes on and he's talking, Pattinson, sorry.
Got to get it right.
Okay. When the sir that plays Edward comes on. So I've only ever seen him in the Batman movie. And so in the Batman movie, his voice is like this. And so when he was talking, when I first heard him talking in Twilight, I was like, what the fuck?
Why does this person?
Why does his voice sound like this? And I know it's not like that, but like comparatively,
yes,
I was
to
like,
the Batman voice.
I was like, what is going on? So, yeah, I was expecting Batman from Robert Pattinson.
Yes.
Yeah, I was expecting Batman, and he was not Batman. He was a Batman, but not the Batman.
Good one.
On a roll. So, and then I know I told you this one, Kristen Stewart. I've never seen any of her movies either. So I had nothing really to go on, minus I don't know if it was just like a first movie, and so she was not getting it like, this is what we want you to do. It was more like the scene just kept going, so she starts doing like weird things, like taking a drink of water and immediately dumping it out into the sink and like, stuff like that. So I was just like, huh.
Yeah.
Okay. So.
I feel like not you specifically, because you don't watch these things, but I feel like seeing her over the years of like what her actual personality is, it feels very her that she acted like that. Like, I feel like some of that awkwardness is just her personality.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. And that, I mean, that tracks. Like, so it was just like, all right, maybe she's meant to be really awkward. So, but yeah.
What, do you have any more notes that you wrote down?
Oh, yes. So the very first thing I wrote down was poor cactus. And
moving from Arizona to Washington.
The very first scene, she's like liberates a cactus from the desert and takes it with her. And I was like, that poor cactus.
Like, of course you focused on the plants.
It's just like, yeah, can you do that to that little thing? And then of course my second note was poor Charlie. Like,
poor Charlie.
Poor Charlie. Yeah, I'm Team Charlie right now. Yeah. You know? And I think we both said that. So.
Yes. Did you like his portrayal in the movie? Like, do you think they did good?
Yeah, I think Charlie was my favorite character.
For sure. Mine too.
So I've never seen the gentleman who plays Charlie before in anything else that I could think of. Not that that matters or anything. So it was a fresh slate. And I was just like,
across the board.
All right, cool. You know? Yeah. I did take a note that I said I thought the movie scene where she leaves is better in the movie than in the book, because in the book, like, you know, in the book it was kind of just like, I don't know, she's just like, I hate you. It's just like my mom said, or Renee, or whatever her name, and then like, but in the movie she's like, you know, putting it on Charlie. Or she feels bad for what she's done to Charlie. Yeah. And in the end, when she's in the hospital, she wants to make, you know, she's like, oh, where's Charlie? I need to apologize. None of that was in the book. Yeah. And which I know we talked in Bookish Bites 1. None of that was in the book. So I did appreciate that a little bit more, that she seemed to be more to actually care about Charlie's feelings when she was doing all of that.
Right.
So, and then also the last thought was, who added the spider monkey comment?
I'm so happy you brought that up, because I was gonna bring it up if you didn't. It's like I think it's the number one thing that every person who's ever watched Twilight has like a comment on. They have to, because who decided this?
Yes. Like, was that like a Robert add-in, like ad-lib, or was that in the script? And I think that's probably worth a Google.
Right, it should be, yes, because I'm sure they've talked about it. They have to have had talked about it over the years, because that's such a stupid, weird line to drop in, especially when like it's not from the book. It's not like ever talked about in any way. It's not like a reference to anything. It's so weird.
Yeah, that's like something like, I don't know, like a 14-year-old high on Mountain Dew would say, you know, not like 100-year-old vampire.
Right. You know? So hold on tight, spider monkey. So ridiculous. I'm so happy that I was there to witness you watching it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, besides that, I really enjoyed the food, and I enjoyed the cake. Great. And I think Ollie let me pet him that night.
So, I was going to say the puppy snuggles. Yes.
Yep. So plus you have a superior movie watching area in your house. So yeah, it was a good time. Even if the movie, I was just kind of like, okay, whatever.
What is happening? Okay, well, you're I hope you know that you've officially now signed up to watch all the movies with me. Thank you.
All right. That's fine.
So this one, I will say specifically, all right, just before I start talking, remember, these are all full spoilers, like literally deep dive, new moon, everything. So be ready. Okay.
Yeah. Stop right here if you haven't read New Moon yet.
Exactly. So I specifically remember the like midnight show or whatever of New Moon being, everyone was so excited to see how they were going to do the werewolves. Because they're not in the first one at all. Like, you don't see them. You don't know how they're going to do it. You don't know how they're going to do the whole, like, Jacob jumping in the air, changing, like, mid-jump. Like, You don't know any of that. So specifically, I remember everyone like with all of their theories of like how it was going to happen and how he was going to look and how all this stuff. So I can't wait to watch that one with you so you can see all the things.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that. And I have it written down later, but you brought it up.
Mm-hmm.
And since we're there, I'm going to just say it. So the way she describes not Edward, she describes Jacob and the color of his fur, she calls it like russet brown. In my brain went to russet potato. So now I just imagine a potato. Like every time they're like, oh, Jacob looks like his fur is like, I imagine a fluffy potato.
Okay, great.
So whatever the movie does, it will not be what I'm expecting.
No, it's not, because he does not look like a potato. A potato. Okay, so are you ready?
Yes.
Break down New Moon. Okay.
I am ready, but first, I want to see how many sticky notes you put in your book to prepare for New Moon.
I will show you in just a second.
Okay.
You wait a second. So New Moon came out on August 21st, 2006. It is 563 pages by Stephanie Meyer of Torment. And these are all of my Post-it notes. I went a different route this time. I didn't write any notes. I just Post-it noted throughout the whole book and highlighted and stuff. I went through 1.5 little Post-it note, like a stack of little Post-it notes. So
Jeezy Pete's.
Whoopsies.
So you have a lot to say.
I have a lot to say. We're gonna talk.
Right.
I kind of wrote down what I thought some big points were, but I feel like I did this one a little bit different, so I can tell you kind of what I came up with, but I don't know that it's all, and I'm literally just gonna go Post-it note to Post-it note, and we're gonna talk.
Sounds good.
But kind of what I came up with was the first mention of the Volturi. In the very beginning, you kind of learn about who they are. Then obviously we've got Edward leaving. We've got Bella hearing Edward for the first time in her head. We've got all of her hanging out with Jacob and building the bikes. We've got the wolf pack. We've got Alice showing up, then going to Italy, and then obviously meeting the Volturi and the pact that they make with them.
Yes.
That's kind of all like the big things that I feel like we'll for sure get to, but all right, are you ready to jump in?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Let's see what my first Post-it note is.
No.
Okay, so the only thing that I noted in the very beginning was that the book started, again, remember, I haven't watched or read any of these since the movies came out. So back in whatever, 2012 or something, 11. So it starts out with her like seeing herself as an old woman, and the movie does the same thing. So that was like I was like, oh, that's cool. I forgot that they did that. So from the very beginning, she's complaining so much.
Yes.
Just like incessantly complaining about everything.
Yes. I noted the same thing. Why are you such a bitch about your birthday?
Right. Like, I guess I didn't write Edward or her birthday before Edward leaves, but whatever, that's fine. So I'm a little confused about this. So she complains so much about being older than Edward, right? Like that's one of her biggest complaints there. But like, even if you waited, let's say 5 years, you're not going to look older than him. What is this massive desire to not be older than 17? Like, technically, he's not 17, even if he changed at 17.
Right.
So it's like this, I don't know.
Yeah, I just assumed she was just afraid that, you know, like going to extremes, because she does talk about like, oh, well, what if I'm 20, 30, 40, 50, you know, as an old person. And, you know, I mean, I understand where her fear is, like, and then because, and I mean, yeah, what is Edward gonna say if she's 50 and he's
Right.
still like hanging out with her? Oh, this is my mom, this is my grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I live with my grandmother,
Right.
you know, we have one bedroom. Like, of course it's gonna be an issue later, come on.
Right.
But yes, she is
just incessantly.
yeah, she brings it up a lot in this book.
Mm-hmm. I also noted that they are both so deeply insecure. Yes. Just like across the board. Like, he feels himself to be this monster. Like, how could you love me as this monster? And then she feels like I'm not worth this vampire's love. Like, it's they're so deeply insecure that it's a lot to deal with. Right.
Yeah. And yes. I think I probably said this in an earlier, but she's so selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Like, but, you know, because, like, you know, just going back to, like, the whole birthday thing, like, she even acknowledges that, like, that they're trying really hard to include, you know, do her birthday and include her in things, and, you know, how excited they are, how they all went out of their way to get her a gift and like all this other stuff. And she's still just like, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, you cannot see that these people are trying to include you.
Right.
All you can see is that you don't want the attention when all you're doing is putting more attention onto yourself.
Yes, exactly. I don't know if that's just like all of the insecurities coming out in her, where she can't even like focus on
anybody else.
There was also something that Edward said. This is kind of part of that insecurity stuff, but it says that it bothered Edward with how comfortable she was being next to him or being close to him. And I was thinking, like, so he says, like, he thought that he was hazardous to my health, blah, blah, blah. So, like, then why are you with her? I guess this leads to him, like, ultimately leaving, right? But, like, why not either one, leave, or two, change her? If you are so, like, you feel so weird about the fact that she is, like, comfortable being next to you, like, change it then. I don't know.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess that's what the whole book is about. Like, well, yeah, because he makes that decision, but, like, you know, he tries the leave approach, but, you know, I don't know. I have two things to say about the beginning of the book.
Okay.
Before we get into, like, any of the more milestone-y and, like, you know, stuff like that. It was just weird writing choices that I felt by Stephanie. The first one was, like, there's the first day of school or something, and they're standing in the parking lot, and she says, and he traced his cool fingertips around the outside of my lips. And I just imagine, like, whoa, and I'm like, that's so fucking weird.
Well, right. Apparently that's very sexy.
I guess, but I like, so that's one thing that I've written down. That's something that I have to look for in the movie.
Oh.
To see if he's like,
I mean, it's not jumping out to me that happens, but who knows? It's been a while since I've seen it, so it's possible.
Right. So that's one thing I'm going to look for in the movie.
Okay.
And then the second, it was just kind of like another weird, like, she mentions, Bella says it almost boastingly. She's like, oh, we're in all the same classes because all the female administrators are doing favors for Edward. And I was like, these people don't know that he's 100 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They think he's 17.
Yeah.
Like, you are making this gross and weird.
Yeah.
Like, you're telling me
what is all of the female staff doing if they are so like enraptured or whatever with this 17-year-old boy?
Right. And then how in the first book movie was he not able to get out of the class, but in this book he can get in any class he wants to be in, because all of a sudden all the administrators are now in love with him too. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
Exactly.
Stop being weird, Stephanie. Get it together.
Exactly. Yeah, that's I don't know. Okay, so we make it to the birthday party. I think right before the birthday party is when we find out that Edward had this plan that if she ended up dying in Arizona, he was gonna do things to himself. Yes.
That's by going to the Volturi or whatever, however you pronounce it.
Volturi, yeah. Okay. He so this is where we learn that right, all of the stuff that leads up to the end of the book. But like, even that early, when all that stuff was happening in Arizona, like, you guys, what is happening here? Okay.
Mm-hmm. I assumed that was just foreshadowing.
Yeah, it had to be, because it was how she introduced who the Volturi was and like what their role is and stuff. So I'll actually say we could save the Volturi conversation for when we get to them later. But so we get to the birthday party.
Where klutzy Bella
gives
herself a paper cut.
Somehow turns a paper cut into like blood everywhere. Like, I mean, part of that was Edward's fault because he pushed her into the stuff, but poor Jasper, just like trying to be good and adapt to this new way of life, and Edward's bringing in this human.
Have you no thoughts of other people, Edward?
Right. Poor Jasper, man. I just so that is like obviously the big scene, like the catalyst for everything else that happens in the book. Were you like surprised by the scene? Were you
No.
Okay.
I think probably the thing that I was the most surprised about is Alice didn't foresee it.
That's true.
Because and maybe I missed the explanation or like whatever, but Alice even mentions later in the book that she sees events clearer the closer you are to a person. Well, that literally involved every single person in the room, including Jasper, who is her mate. Yeah. And then Bella, who, I know later in the book we talk about hundreds of miles away, feels like her doing something stupid and flies over because it's a near-death experience, but she didn't see this. So
that's so true. How
so I wrote it down thinking maybe they explained it later, but I don't think she ever does.
No, they don't.
So I think that was probably my biggest takeaway and or problem with that part of the book is I don't expect Alice to foresee everything, but they made it sound like it was a life-threatening event.
Yeah. And in the first book they even had time where when she was trying to figure out what James's next move was, like she literally sat down and like thought about it. So if you're bringing her into your home for this party, isn't that something you would do beforehand? Like sit down, I don't know if it's meditate or whatever, but like sit down and like really try to think about whatever involves that situation. That's another one for you, Nicole, because I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, I just yay point. But yeah, I don't know. I just kind of like you're saying. I guess I don't expect her to be like, I have to think about things like this all the time or meditate about every single life event. But I don't know. I thought it was a convenient miss.
Very true. Yes. Okay, so in this whole situation is where we kind of find out that Edward doesn't believe that there's like an afterlife for them. He kind of thinks of them as like having lost souls, basically. So you kind of get some more insight into his Edward.
His tortured inner self.
Yes. And then also is where we get a lot of his story, because Carlisle, while he's fixing her up, kind of gives more of Edward's story, which I think was nice. So we get a little bit more about his mom and like what was happening at that time, and that it was actually his mom who asked him to like make sure Edward makes it.
Right. Yeah.
I guess I didn't really remember all of that.
Yeah, I didn't remember it until you just said it.
Oh.
So
okay, well my next post-it is not until a little bit later. So do you have anything before we get to where Edward's being all weird with her?
No.
And like
our next milestone is Edward breaking up with Bella.
Okay, that's where mine is too. So yeah, he all right, so here's the part. He takes her out into the woods, which is a weird choice.
Well, he doesn't even take her out into the woods. He just kind of leads her to the beginning of the path. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she's the one that fucking takes off into the woods in like, I don't know, sadness or something. So.
Yeah. So he, obviously the way he does it tells her like,
I'm leaving.
That
it'll be like I never existed.
Yeah.
That's
so
what it is, yeah.
I wrote on one of the post-its, I wrote "Dick move, Edward," because he says, "Of course I'll always love you in a way." If you want to leave and you want it to be like clean break, like I never existed, don't say the words "I'll always love you."
Right. It's basically giving yourself a way back in, you know, like, or giving hope. Yeah, I think this is probably the only part of the book where I wrote down poor Bella.
Yeah.
Like, what, like a knife to the heart. Like, for being 100 years old, there's no, like, you couldn't think of a better way to, like, let down a 17-year-old girl. Like,
right.
Who says probably, I don't know, twice in the first 10 pages, I'd rather die than be without you.
Right.
Like, come on, my man. Like,
yeah, you probably should have handled that a little bit different. And not only did you leave, but you took away everybody. She loves the entire family. So like you took everybody away from her, and you know that like at that point she was like being isolated from her friends, like like sitting around her friends and stuff, but she was really just with the Cullens. So yeah, and then this is where he tells her on his way out, don't do anything reckless or stupid. Okay, first of all, you're leaving.
You lost that.
Yeah.
Like,
who are you to fucking tell me what to do now?
Right.
I don't know.
Yep.
So
like, the sentiment is there. Like, please be careful. But like, dude, you left. You lose all rights.
Yeah.
To say have any kind of like anything to do with her life.
Any say in what I'm doing or whatever. Yeah, I don't. Okay, so he's gone, and Sam finds Bella. So we meet Sam for the first time.
Sam, very briefly.
Just he saves her, brings her back into the house,
and then leaves.
So we get our first there, and then right after is we reach the empty chapters.
Yes, I wrote down. Pages 75 to like about 130 is just Bella being distraught, and you could have chopped all that out. Yeah, and just the book could have been, I don't know, 50 pages, easily shorter. Just
exactly. Agreed. Yeah, so we get through all of October through January before Charlie decides that he's gonna step in. Like, that's
Right.
a long time.
Yeah. And yeah, I think later in the book, he also, when he's talking to Alice, he's like, oh yeah, she was basically catatonic and like stuff like that during that time. That's a long time.
Yeah.
Because like, didn't it?
It was October to January.
Yeah. So it's like, you're telling me that this girl is catatonic through like all major holidays. And like, man.
And you just let her do, like, she went to school and work and that was it. And just.
Right. And where's Renee in all of this?
Right. At some point, he would have had to call her, right? And, like, you're not hanging out for Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever. Like, yeah, Renee's just off in Florida. Like, oh, my daughter will be fine. Don't worry.
Right. Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know what their, if you want to call it their co-parenting situation looks like, because she's obviously a 17-year-old girl. But, like, you're telling me she didn't call or invite her down or anything like that for like Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's or anything. Like, I don't know. I feel like Charlie and Renee are in there to be parents because Stephanie feels children should have parents. You can't just be a teenager in a house without parents.
Right. What she should have done is written like a 20-year-old or something.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, that's true. But it was nice. So Charlie offers to get her professional help, which I was like, good for you, Charlie, offering to take her to a therapist, which is probably what she needed.
Yes. Which, I don't know. It's Bella, though, so she probably wouldn't have told him anything.
Yeah,
because
that's true.
I can't tell them about vampires.
All right. So we make it to the outing with Jessica, and we have the first time that she hears Edward's voice. Basically, she sees the guys across the street that she thinks are the same guys from when she was attacked in the first book, and all of a sudden his voice is yelling at her to stop. She's a crazy person.
Right. So yeah, the milestone here I have written down is this is where Bella decides to be stupid.
Fair. Right, because there's a difference between like doing something dangerous like the motorcycles and doing something like this where you're walking up to these guys that tried to attack you last time.
Right. Yeah. And it's just so she can hear his voice. And
what does that help you with?
Right. So like it makes her feel better, I guess. But, I had a couple different problems with the voices, I guess, because one, the voices was like, okay, either it's in her brain where she's doing this to herself, which is a level of trauma that I don't think I've ever experienced. And she obviously needs help. Or two, Stephanie's logic about what Bella's and Edward's gift are or whatever is wildly off base. And so, I mean, I know later in the book all that's explained, but for like this part of the book, I was almost more upset because I know I've told you before, one of my pet peeves with like any type of, this type of book is if there are rules and then the rules are conveniently able to be broken. So like all of a sudden now Edward can talk to her and hear her thoughts. I was like, this is fucking garbage.
So and that's the thing is I don't think that, I think it's all in her head. Like it's not ever, to me I don't feel like it's ever like fully explained other than when she's telling him at the end like I heard your voice.
Yes.
So it's literally all in her head. There's no like magic involved. There's no like special abilities happening. Like it's literally all in your head. And maybe instead of seeking out more listening to maybe instead of seeking out like trying to hear his voice more, maybe she should have been like, what is wrong with me? Why is this happening?
Yeah, it was very, like I said, with whatever way it was going, I had a problem with it. And I was like, so I was trying to cool it on the hate because I was like, I hope this isn't just me hating the book, like
right,
looking for reasons to hate this book. So I was just kind of like, because by this time I had sat through that 50 pages of Bella complaining, and I had to put the book down and walk away for like 4 or 5 hours, because I was like beyond like, okay, Bella, I got it, you're very sad,
just
great,
ridiculous.
now you're gonna be stupid. Got it.
Yes. And then Jessica gets pissed. Jessica is pissed off at her. Like, why are you making these stupid fucking decisions? And I'm right here.
Rightfully so, though.
Yes, I agree.
Like, if I was out with anybody and they put me in a situation where, like,
purposely put you in a situation,
I would also not be hanging out with that person as well. Yeah. And Bella's like, I don't want to say flabbergasted by it, but she's like, oh, she's still mad at me. Oh, well. And I'm like, yeah.
Of course she is. Like, you literally put her in danger. For what reason?
Like, she 100% in her right. Like, to be pissed at you about that.
Yes.
And this goes back to just like that selfishness that like I can't get over.
Nope.
So
so I feel like the next like 20 pages or so, something like that, is all just like her coming to terms with the fact that she can hear him now if she does something stupid, and trying to get to that point or whatever. So then we end up out at the reservation with Jacob.
Oh yeah, because she magically finds 2 motorcycles
for
that
free.
Somebody's for free giving away.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So, but we're gonna start hanging out with Jacob. And before we talk about anything with Jacob, I have to tell you,
he sounds like a dreamboat.
He does. It sounds hilarious to me that he is 6'5" in the book, because in the movie he's like 5'5".
Yeah,
the casting is not great.
No, as much as I love, what's that kid's name? Trevor.
Taylor Lautner.
Sorry. Yeah. So as much as I think he's adorable, because I've seen pictures of him, he's an adorable kid, but like,
he does not fit.
He is not the character they should have used for the movie.
And I actually think that's true of the whole wolf pack, because all of the casting in the movie is not so, like, obviously later in the book we get more of the wolves and stuff, and we find out that like when they're in the house like eating breakfast and stuff, they're all very like imposing, right? She's basically describing them all as like 6 foot 6 to 6'5", with Jacob being like massive, and just like, how do all of these wolves fit in this house, like all of this stuff. Sam is in the movie is the tallest one. He's maybe 6 foot, I would guess. All of the rest of them, I mean, I think Seth is shorter than Taylor Lautner. Like, they're all just so small. And to me, I feel like that's not, that does not fit what the book says at all.
Right. I'm looking forward in the movie to seeing the kid who played Mike next to Jacob, and look what that difference is, because he's so in the book it's night and day. Like, you know, like Jacob is just giant, like basically pick Mike up and articulate him and stuff like that. But like, I don't know what Mike looks like in the second book, but second movie, but I remember him in the first movie, and I think they're probably the same size. So
if anything, Taylor is probably a little bit shorter. Okay. It's very weird. And that's kind of like, every time I read anything about Jacob supposed to be about him, like supposing, I don't know what I'm saying, about how he is supposed to be like this imposing figure, just like towering over her and everyone around, and like, just, man. Okay.
Right.
So he's 6'5" now, apparently.
So, yes. And I had, when we're talking about like the whole motorcycle thing and like whatever, because like in it goes along with what we're saying. Like, I wrote a note, I was like, Jacob must be stacked. Like, he must be fucking ripped
Mm-hmm.
because she keeps making these throwaway comments in the book, and this is just me picking at things now, you know, but she's like, oh, these motorcycles, and he only names one of the motorcycles, and it's that the 350 Sprint.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Harley.
Mm-hmm.
Let's call it a 1970s
Mm-hmm.
Harley, you know, 350 Sprint. Those things are 300 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
And he's picking it up and
Mm-hmm.
putting it in the back of a truck.
Mm-hmm.
That's a 300-pound motorcycle, and you're throwing it in the back of a truck without a ramp. You have to be fucking... And it's just a throwaway comment on her part.
Yes.
Yeah, so it was just like, man,
Yes.
what is he... Like, this man's workout regiment has to be crazy. Could you imagine having to squat press into an upright row 300 pounds?
No.
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 Who does that?
So, yes.
Jacob.
Apparently Jacob does. This is hilarious. We also meet Quill and Embry, his friends that come in while they're working on the thing. I do have to make a quick point out here that I get that they're supposed to be part of a tribe, right? And they live on a reservation. I get all of this. But why is Stephanie so why does she need to call them dark-skinned boys all the time? Like, she's always referencing... I feel like anytime she's talking about the like the wolf pack as humans, she always references their darker skin.
Yeah,
we get it.
I have no answer for that.
Right. I just wanted to point that out a little bit. It's a little weird to me. I got to a point where I was like, I don't know if I love this, Stephanie. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I did notice that as well, and I don't know if you're describing a character at the beginning, but yeah, it's like every reference, like every time she talks about him, like there's a comparison, like, oh, we held hands, and you know, like
the difference
like,
in skin tone. Yeah,
like,
it was more than it needed to be, for sure. I do like that she explains Jacob though as like a perpetually happy person.
Oh yes.
It just kind of made me feel like I really like Jacob.
Yes. So this goes back to, and I know I texted you this earlier, and this book, as soon as she like talked about Jacob, I was like, trope. I was like, this is a Grumpy Sunshine book, except the female character is not either the grumpy or the sunshine. She's like the third leg of a love triangle, and Edward is the grumpy and Jacob is the sunshine.
That's hilarious. I guess it kind of is in that way. Bella's kind of a grumpy, but more of like in an awkward way, not necessarily just like in an angry way. But Jacob is for sure sunshine. So since I brought that up, I'm going to tell you now. I think I'm officially Team Jacob.
Oh my gosh.
So
you wouldn't say the other day.
Because I didn't want you to know yet. Because I was hardcore Edward for the whole beginning of my Twilight life. Movies, books, like everything, forever. Always was Edward. And maybe a little bit is that just like there's more to come in 4, so then it makes more sense as to why you might still like Bedward.
Oh.
Okay. Bella and Edward together. But to all of the Jacob lovers from the past 15 years where I was like, why would you like Jacob? I now get it.
Yeah.
He's just I know there's still so much more that we're finding out, and like we're still so early in him, but I just wanted you to know now that I for sure Team Jacob over Edward.
Yeah. Jacob is real. This part of the book where she meets Jacob and she's spending all that time with Jacob and you're learning about Jacob is probably the best part of the book.
Agreed.
It's literally the only part that I wasn't doing any skimming. I was sitting on the couch and I was going through it, and I was actually enjoying this part of the book.
Yeah.
Where she's hanging out with Jacob and learning all of, like, you know, all the stuff. So
yeah.
Yes.
Because he's just like a little sweetheart. Like, he truly cares about her. He really wants to like hang out with her and just like be around her. He's just like, the perpetual happiness is very evident, and I just love it. And it becomes even more so like once he changes and he like wants to help protect her and stuff. It just comes off so much more genuine than Edward's feelings.
Right. And I mean, I also respect, and I can't remember exactly where, I think it was probably the movies, but like when she's talking about, you know, he's like talking about, I don't know, maybe wanting to be his, you know, her boyfriend, and she's like, I can't do that, you know, like I still have feelings for like he who shall not be named. And he was like, yeah, I get that, but we can still be like, I'll take whatever I can get, you know what I mean? Like he's, you know, and she is like, oh, okay. So
yeah,
you know, I know she has some back and forth feelings on that, but like, you know, he's very understanding that she's going through some shit, you know, and I didn't really get any feelings that he was trying to push her into a relationship or anything like that. So I mean, if there's anybody who has other feelings, you know, feel free to let me know. But like, I didn't really get that from him anywhere.
Nope. He kind of was just giving her the time and then really just wanted to hang out with her. Like at one point he tells her like, if I was smarter, I would have made this last longer because it would have given you a reason to like come over for longer. And it really was just him like wanting to spend time with her and hang out. And like, he was afraid that if they finished the bikes or whatever, that she would just stop hanging out with him. Yeah.
The whole thing with like the, you know, back to the motorcycles and that whole like scene where she's like, I think because she does it once, she gets in one motorcycle accident, right, where she gets the laceration. Well, I think she gets into a second one after that where she like hits a tree or something like that. I don't know. It gets like if you want to call it a concussion. I had to go back and read it a couple times because I was like, is this the same motorcycle accident that
I think she's only
about?
in one. Yeah.
So it's one paragraph, and I should have marked it, but there's one paragraph that I had to go back and read like 3 times because I was like, is this the same motorcycle accident or a different one? And I still, you know, to this day don't know, but like I just the whole thing, I was just like, Bella, you are so stupid. Like,
yes,
have some self-respect. Like this like codependency on like Edward is going, you know, obviously going to ruin your life.
Yeah,
you're not wearing helmets,
right?
Like,
right.
Everybody knows that you are not. You know you shouldn't be on a motorcycle. Like, no man is worth this, even if he's an immortal vampire.
Right. But you know what? Even if you're wearing a helmet, he probably still would show up in your head because you're still being dangerous, right? Like, yeah. Also in this early on part, there's a lot of foreshadowing where like Jacob says that Sam looks at him like he's waiting for something, and like
he's always being watched.
Just lots and lots of foreshadowing. Okay, so then we kind of jump ahead a little bit. So she plans this whole outing for the whole group to go to the movies, and it ends up just being Mike and Jacob, of course.
Right. Yes.
And I thought it was hilarious. I just wrote LOL on both Mike and Jacob had claimed the armrest on either side of her with both of their hands just like up,
facing
ready,
up.
Yeah, ready to like, are you gonna hold my hand?
Yeah, that was weird.
They're both just like, hello, I'm here, hold my hand.
You must choose.
Yes.
There could be only one.
I thought I put Jacob with a little heart because he says You like me better than that Joker puking his guts out in there, right? That's so cute. Yeah, this little part was really, it was a little sad because I feel like this is where Jacob is like really telling her what he wants out of them, and she let him down easy, right, but still was really sad.
Yeah, she didn't give him the Edward treatment.
Did not. Yes, and I highlighted a part in this too that he's just so sweet. He tells her like, I know you're unhappy a lot, and I just wanted you to know that I'm always here and that I would never ever hurt you. And like, I was just like, Jacob, you're 16, man. Like,
yeah,
you are not talking. You're talking more like a 109-year-old vampire, not a 16-year-old.
Right. Way to have like adult feelings.
Yeah.
Express them like a healthy person.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's because all of this that I get more irrationally upset about the next part. But if you have more to talk about in this one, we can go on.
I don't have any more with that part. The next part would be when we see Laurent in the woods. Yeah. So is there something before that?
So I have in between there, because the milestone was Jacob has turned, obviously, because he gets sick. You know, he's sick and he's missing.
That's right.
And he's missing.
He has mono.
Yeah, he's mono, and he's missing for a week or something like that. But after him being so nice and her letting him down and like, I don't want that kind of relationship from you and like stuff like that. And then, you know, like for her to be like, what the fuck? Why is he not calling me back? Why is even after, to your point, after, you know, his dad's like, Billy's like, dude, he's sick. He has mono. She's like, I don't fucking believe it.
I want to come in there and see him.
Like, you have to prove it to me. Like, I need something from Jacob, and I need him to entertain me because there's something wrong with me. And as soon as Jacob is not there to entertain her, she's like downward spiral. So.
Yeah, she right. It's like she can't come to like she can't accept the fact that like this boy just told you how he feels about you and what his ultimate goal is, and you basically just was like, no, I can't give that to you. Like,
so he respects boundaries. Got it.
Yeah, like just give him maybe a little bit of time before you start barging yourself into their home.
Right. Well, even if, and you know, back to, you know, what I just said, even if he wasn't sick and he didn't have mono, even if it was, I'm not hanging out with you today, I need some space because you just told me you don't want to be with me or whatever. He's allowed to have feelings. 2, he's respecting your boundaries. Like, you know, by not like, just because it's ridiculous for her to be like, well, I don't have feelings for you, but I still expect you to entertain me and keep myself together. Like, come on.
Yep.
That goes once again, selfish.
Back to yes. Yeah.
But oh yeah. So like you were saying, the next part where she sees Laurent and she thinks it's the bear.
Oh yes, the bear that looks like a wolf.
Right. The giant
bears and wolves don't look alike.
Bear wolf.
Yes, the whole pack of wolves that comes out, and we get all of the like trying to lie to Laurent about being there, about like where the Cullens are and like all of the things. And yes, then we get all of the she calls him in this one a rusty brown monster.
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for that. And then this one she calls him the reddish brown one.
Yes.
So yeah. So yes, all the wolves come out. Did you have any thoughts about did you know it was them? Obviously.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I knew it was I figured it was them. Okay. Like she made the comment, even if I didn't know, she made the comment. She's like, "Oh, he has eyes like Jacob." I was like,
"Yeah, she did."
Oh, okay. Like, like at this point, I know Stephanie is not able to write in such a way where you're like, she's telling you what she wants you to know, so like, but yeah, the only thing I really have written for this part is I was hoping that she was eaten by the bear. That was before the wolves came out, and she's talking about like, oh my god, it's the bear, and I was like, man, I hope so. Like, after the way you just treated Jacob and listening to the first 300 pages of this book, I hope it's a bear.
Between Laurent being there and the bear, you're gonna get eaten by someone.
Yeah. So but yeah, she finds out from Laurent that Victoria is now looking for her.
Yes, still on the hunt.
Yeah, and I think at this point, because I still didn't know what the voices were, I had made a note. I was like, well, Edward will probably show up anytime now.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Because Victoria's back. So
right. So
I wasn't right.
No, but he did show up in her head to tell her to lie to him and like all that kind of stuff. So, yes, after this, she goes home and tells Charlie, right, about it's not a bear, it's wolves. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, because after promising him that she's gonna do things, she's gonna be safe and not run off into the woods. What does she do? I'm gonna go run off into the woods.
Whoopsie. Yes. And then at this point is when she decides she's gonna run over to Jacob's house and confront him, and yell at him. And this is when she gets there and she notices that his hair is cut and all the other boys are around, and he's
sad his hair was cut.
So
I like his long flowing locks.
It had to be cut though.
Fine.
Does it make sense to you why?
I don't know.
Because then his fur would be too long when he turns into a wolf.
Oh.
That's why all their hair is short.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm still sad.
Oh, yes, me too. And then he gets all mad at her, and where he basically tells her that the reason, like, if you want to be mad at somebody, be mad at those bloodsuckers.
Yes. Yes. Like, Jacob is going through some shit, and
says that he can't hang out with her anymore.
Right.
Yeah.
Whether he's handling that well or not.
Right.
She's, Bella is also not handling it well.
Right.
So both of them are not helping the situation.
Right. And then obviously he's being a little bit mean to her because the whole pack is there and they have the rules that he's not allowed to tell her. So he's being meaner to her and telling her like that they can't hang out and like all that.
Right. And it sounds like it's not even that he could, even if like he wanted to, or he was right there, like he's not physically able. Like it felt like kind of like a witch, like, thing where like, oh, I can't
like they put a spell on him where they can't say it.
Right.
And, yeah.
Yeah. So it was kind of the same thing to me. Like he just he physically couldn't say anything. And that's how I took it. So, he even, cause he gave her the information that she needed to figure it out herself. And he told her that.
Yep.
But
yeah, cause he shows up in her room that night and is basically like, Bella, the story. Like, I can't tell you, but the story. I need you to figure it out. Yes, yeah. I need you to figure it out. So, so that's all of that. I have another note in here of, it's hard for me to see him this large imposing character because I only know him as Taylor Lautner. Because in this, when he's in her room, she says, he looked huge. He leaned over me so big that he blacked out the window. Like, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I'll figure it out when I watch the movie. But is Taylor running around without a shirt for the whole movie?
Most of it, yeah.
Wow. What did that do to your 15-year-old heart or whatever?
I wasn't 15. I was like 23. But
somebody who was 15 at the time. I need to know what seeing Taylor's chest did to your 15-year-old heart.
So I think the first time you see him without a shirt is when she crashes the motorcycle and her head is bleeding and he takes his shirt off to put it against her head. Oh my God, the theater went crazy. Because even for being a smaller guy, he was still very muscly.
Wow.
So yes, everyone went crazy. Okay, so they're in the room and he's basically saying like, okay, remember this story, maybe it'll come back to you, and is like even bringing up the fact that like you remember his side of it. What is the other? How is she not guessing it right in that moment? Did she literally hear nothing else?
Yeah, I think she even makes mention to it. She's like, I really didn't pay attention to anything else because all I cared about were vampires.
Right.
So yeah, and then then she's like, I'm really tired and I've had like, trauma today or something like that. So like, yeah, it was just like, okay.
And then
he's just like, I guess I'm gonna leave.
Yeah, but he's so sweet about it because he said, I promised you I would never hurt you, so I really blew that this afternoon, didn't I? He was so cute. And then as he's getting ready to leave, he's like, I know you can do this. I need you to understand because I won't lose you for this. Oh, he's so sweet. Little cute boy. And then she finally figures it out after
about time,
however long. And then so then once she figures it out, she goes out to his house. And I like that at first he thinks that she's upset because he's not the right kind of monster.
Yeah.
I like that he like at first is like, you know what, you're a hypocrite. How dare you?
Yeah. How dare you like one type but not the other?
Yes.
Like, come on.
But then really it's all just because she thinks that the wolves are murdering people and blah blah blah. And then that's when she finds out that the only thing that they hunt is vampires.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. And we find out Laurent is dead. He did not just run away. I remember you thinking, when that part happened, didn't you say something about that? You were like, did he just run away? Or
right, yeah, I have a note to, I guess, remember for like if he shows up later or not, because I was like, did they really kill him?
They did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do they ever explain how they did it?
They rip his head off.
Okay.
I think the wolves basically just pull the vampires apart into pieces.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I assumed that had to have been what it was. Like, just ripped him into like 1,000 pieces. So I was just like, okay.
Yes. So this is also the point where she actually is able to tell them like why Victoria is there, because they have been trying to figure her path out and stuff. So now she's going to be able to help them a little bit more with Victoria.
Yeah. This part of the book was easily the most boring part of the book, where they're out looking for Victoria and nobody's finding Victoria, and she's like just hanging out in La Push for like
just hanging out at the beach, hanging out at the house, hanging out at whatever. Man. Yes,
it was almost as bad as the first, like that first 50 pages that I was like, oh my gosh, like it was easily just as bad as that. Minus, I didn't really, there was none of the like, I didn't remember there to be as much of the complaining about Edward being gone,
right?
Or complaining about Jacob not being there to support her, right? So
she was really like the whole time just kind of worried about them being out there hunting, really,
right?
And just not being there, but this is also, so during that whole time where they're like, I guess right before they start that part of it is when she sees him change for the first time.
Oh yeah.
When one of the boys, Paul, like gets mad at her and like the whole situation, and he starts like raging out.
Yeah. His roids kick in.
Yes. And so Jacob does a shift right in front of her to go protect her, And that is the part where, like I was saying earlier, that was like the biggest thing was like, how are they going to show it? And I think the movie did it pretty good. I'm not going to lie to you. So I can't wait for you to see it. But yeah. So
yeah, and didn't they say later or something that like he is super good at like shifting, because like that whole being able to shift like mid jump or something is like incredibly, if you want to call it rare or difficult.
Yeah.
So I'm glad it lived up to expectations on screen as well.
Oh, here's your russet brown. This is when it describes him as he jumps into the air and just was a gigantic russet brown wolf.
I know. I immediately went russet brown potato.
A potato. Yes. I think it's funny how they talk about how Billy is not going to buy him any more shoes because he keeps shredding all of his clothes.
Yes.
I thought that was really cute. Just like a cute little throwaway comment that I could just see Billy at home being like, God damn it, Jacob.
You're gonna have to wear one shoe.
Yeah. Yes. And then this is when we meet Emily, Sam's fiance.
Oh yes.
So hold on a second. I don't know why this really bothers me. Oh no, I said I don't know why but this really touched me. Not bothers.
Wrong emotion.
Wrong emotion. She tells the boys to save some for your brothers as she's like hitting them in the head with a spoon for like waiting for, and for me it felt so like family. Like they all really love each other. She really like helps and supports them, and I just really loved it. I like their family, and that it's not like a little cult that everyone thought it was.
Right. Yeah. Even the book describes it as. Yeah.
So once they show up, the fighting boys show back up, there's a little foreshadowing that happens, and Jacob tells her, we run a little warmer than normal people, about 108, 109. I never get cold anymore. That is foreshadowing for something that may or may not happen in a future book.
Oh, keep that in mind.
Yes. So the next thing I have is the cliff jump. So is there anything between with the wolves and stuff before she goes crazy and jumps off the cliff?
No, that's probably the next thing that I have. And really it's just, I don't have any notes about it minus another comment by myself in this one where I'm just like, man, by the time Bella is standing at the cliff's edge, I'm ready to push her off myself.
You're like, please go right now.
I'm so fed up with Bella by this part of the book that like, I don't know. I feel like not spoiler, but like for anybody listening, the rest of the book, I feel like I probably am more hard on Bella than maybe she deserves, because like I said, at this point of the book, I was like, I'm done with you. You are not somebody that I would ever friend.
Nope.
You are not somebody that I would ever hang out with. And so now I have to read all your innermost thoughts. I'm ready to push you off this cliff.
Go away, you dumb brat. Yes. Samesies. Nice. But at one point, so just right after that, I wrote a note that said Jake deserves so much better. Like it's a part where she's talking about how like she knows that she could have him if she wants him. And she's like, I knew that he would take me in spite of that all. So basically it's like, she says, even if the love I felt for him was no more than a weak echo of what I was capable of. Like, poor Jacob. Like, I know what happens, but like, poor Jacob. So the whole jump happens and she gets saved, blah, 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 whatever. And then they end up back at Bella's house and Carlisle's car is there.
Yes.
Were you really hoping it was Carlisle?
I like Carlisle.
Yes.
But I wasn't surprised it was Alice.
Yes.
I do have one more thought about her jumping off that cliff and being in the water. And I know we've had this conversation before, but Stephanie, please don't tell me that you think drowning is that peaceful. Like, I mean, I've never had that experience,
right.
but like when your body is going through that like apnea phase where it's trying to breathe, that's like, I mean, I've read that it is like one of the most painful experiences your body has. And it isn't until like after that, like the water rushes in and you're actually like, you know, your lungs are full of water and all that other stuff. It isn't until then that it's not painful anymore. But getting to that point is extremely painful. And like the whole time she's just in like,
drifting.
Edward's coming for me. I can hear his voice. It gets me through everything. No. No. This is your body actively trying to save itself.
Right. So
no amount of lovely voices in your head is going to combat that.
I guess the only benefit of the doubt that I will give Stephanie in this is that it's a YA book.
Yes. And that makes sense.
That she didn't go too deep. That's the only, and that's just kind of like a devil's advocate a little bit. Like not necessarily. Right. I agree with you. Like she's just like floating and like, oh, there's Edward's voice again, and I'm fine as she's being thrashed in the water. But maybe it was more like a YA approach.
That's true. You say that makes more sense.
Okay.
Like maybe she was trying to be less graphic, but like, man, like also, I don't know. You put something like that in a book that influences children
to go cliff diving.
Yeah. Like I've been cliff diving. I have done that part. It can be terrifying.
For sure.
But
yes.
Anyway, sorry. So yes.
So Alice shows up.
Alice is here.
Yep. And so Bella's an asshole.
Yes,
because
she is such a bitch.
Yes, because clearly Jacob can smell that there's a vampire in there. And instead of being like, it's okay, Jacob, I'm safe. Like, I know this is a Cullen that's here. She's such an asshole. And she says, well, run along now and go tell Sam that the scary monsters aren't coming to get you. Seriously, go fuck yourself.
Yeah.
This boy has been nothing but nice and protective and like all of the things to you. And you immediately switch into like this passive aggressive asshole.
Yeah.
And then right after that is they get the phone call that Jacob answers and says that Charlie's at the funeral.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yes, and Bella, on top of being an asshole, has to be like the dumbest person I've ever met, because like she is basically saying, like, I know she has, you know, feelings for Edward and, you know, the whole family, but she's choosing one vampire over 5 giant fucking werewolves who were like literally, I don't want to say bred, but like their purpose is to destroy vampires. Yeah. And you have one tiny
baby Alice.
Baby Alice, who's the tiniest vampire.
Yes.
And on top of that, she's pissed because Jacob is like, I'm obviously going to take the side of the werewolf.
Of course.
I am a werewolf.
Yes.
And she's like, how dare you?
Yeah.
Like, you should pick what I pick. It's like, man.
That's, I get why Jacob didn't do more on that phone call, because I feel like he was probably just like pissed off at her. Like, if I just say they're not here, then no more of these vampires will show up.
Right.
But
I felt like the phone call was, I don't know, a plot device.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah. So that way Edward
could act like a dumbass.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I get Jacob's reaction. I get him being upset. Of course he's going to take her side. I mean, ultimately, not her side, the wolf side. Ultimately, he still comes back to check on her and stuff. So at least there's that. But I don't know. Okay, so now Edward thinks that Bella died. And he has chosen to go to the Volturi to die.
Right. So I had some thoughts here, and I'm going to talk about them even though they don't mean anything. Because at the time when I was like, because at the time of the book, I still didn't really know, is he hearing her thoughts or not? And I still didn't know at that point because I didn't read ahead. But I was just like, man, this is where I was like, how is Edward in her head, like, and hearing her thoughts? I thought Edward couldn't read her thoughts, like, so is she crazy or can he not? Like, I was like, and if he can read her thoughts, why did he not just do that? Like, why did he not just like think really hard and like, oh, is she really dead? I'm gonna check on it. So it makes sense, I guess, that he left. You know, that he left and he didn't check on her, but I was at that point I was like, what's going on? Yes.
Oh, I guess also at this point is a good spot to point out that Alice cannot see the wolves.
Oh,
so that was why she thought that Bella died, is because Jacob is who saved her. Right. And so she never saw the wolves come in to save her.
Right.
So,
does that come into play later?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all kind of throughout the whole rest of the series, I would say, is having the werewolves be a block on her is kind of something that plays into a couple of things.
I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, that's, I guess, an important thing. Over the next couple of pages, while like they're flying out to we get a lot more information about the Volturi, just kind of like understanding how they work, what they do, like all that kind of stuff. So I'm sorry, I was reading one of my notes and it says, why are both of these people so dead set on not being alive anymore if the other one dies? It literally makes no sense. So for Bella, like, he left you. So if he dies, okay, how is that different than how you're living your life right now? And for Edwards, she's safer without you. So like,
right.
That's your thought, right? Your thought is that she's safer without you. So if you die, like, both of these people need fucking therapy.
Yeah. In this part of the book, Bella in her mind talks a lot about Romeo and Juliet.
Yes.
And just like comparing her situation to you know, the book Romeo and Juliet, and I was like, man, like,
right,
this is not healthy.
No, like, not at all. Also, she says that she was so stupid to think that like saving him would mean anything. Like, basically, if I save him, we're still not going to be together because I was no different, no more special than I'd been before. This man thinks you're dead. And because he thinks you're dead, he now wants to go kill himself.
Mm-hmm.
How do you interpret that as being like, he doesn't think I'm special?
Exactly.
It's literally just like she heard him say the words early in the book, like, I'm leaving and I don't want you. And she was like, yep, that's true.
Yeah. Like, she can't process anything else because she's just like so down on herself about being human.
Yeah.
I guess.
We're like, back to the like full insecurities.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. Yeah. Also, when they're on the plane and she's like, bite me right now, like, change me. I wrote, calm down, Bella.
Yes. No, she's like, just do it right now. And even Alice is like, days. You'll be in pain for days. How is that helping us?
Yeah, exactly.
And she's still like, but you could try.
Right.
She's like, Bella, sweetheart.
this is so stupid. Okay, so basically they just they have to try to get to the center square as fast as possible because he's going to walk out into the sun.
Mm-hmm. I won't lie. I skimmed through the part where they got off the airplane, stole a car, and to the point where she's explaining how she tackles him out of the light or whatever. I basically skimmed through
There's
all
literally
this because
nothing
I was
there.
just like, I was like, okay.
Yeah. Alice like charms her way into the place and like, it's so stupid. I do though think it's funny that Alice tells her not to trip. Like, we don't have time for a concussion. Okay, so we got to the point where Edward is in the square. He's about to walk out and she screams and sprints at him to push him back. Yeah. And this is when the Volturi walk in and are like, they would like to see you now. So everyone has to go into the depths of the dungeons or wherever they are.
Right.
And go meet everybody.
Yeah, and like their whole thing is changed by now because like this happens and he has like that minute where he's like, oh, I must be in heaven, you're here, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And now they're walking through the tunnels and I wrote it down again because I was like, what is Stephanie's problem here? Because she's like back to, it has to be ridiculous. She explains it as he has his arm over her shoulder and then his other arm is in front cupping her face. And then also he's stroking her lips while they walk. So it's just like
she says that again?
Yes. Like, cause I went back and read it. Cause like, she's like, she's like, oh, he has his arm around his, cause the hand cupping my face was a weird statement to me. And I was like, but they're walking. Okay. How do you, she's walking like this? Like, I don't know. How is he doing this? And then like she's like, oh, he's stroking my lips with his thumb, and I was like, why is this fucking weird? Why does he have to have this weird fetish again? Apparently, she has it. I don't. Yeah, it's like, but I was just like, man, why are we back to the lip stroking? Yeah, like, is that the most? Maybe this is the YA thing again, where like. That's the most erotic you can get in YA, apparently. I don't know. I must have skimmed that part because I do not remember reading that part again. Yeah. That's hilarious. But so now they're meeting the Voltaire now. Yes, they're walking in. They at first meet Jane and Alec, who are crazy. And then Aro's ability, he can know everything you've ever thought at any point in your life if he just touches you. Like, that's wild. Yeah, that has to be just like drinking from a fire hose every time you touch somebody. Yeah. Like, because I'm assuming it's like if you touch him, like you meet him and let's say you're 20 years old and you touch him and he remembers everything you said, and then like you meet him 10 years later and he touches you again. It's not like it's just the last 10 years. No, it's 30 years of brain dump again. Exactly. That has to be exhausting. So much. Yeah, I don't know which is worse, his or Edward's. Like, it's probably maybe Edward's because it's constant, where I think you can stop yourself from touching, like wear gloves or something. Right, just not touch people and you're fine. Yeah. And then so Marcus can see relationships, which is weird. That was weird. Yeah, like what is it like? Does it come off like an aura or something? Can he? I don't get it. I assume it's going to be important later because I thought it was like a really weird, like. I thought it was a weird ability that didn't make sense to me, so I was trying to give Stephanie the benefit of the doubt. Okay, maybe it is important later. So it's possible. So in the movies it doesn't come up, but there is one relationship that I'm thinking of that he could potentially see that would be needed later in the books. It doesn't happen in the movie, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it didn't happen. Right? So
So I'm interested to see if that comes up again for the relationship I'm thinking. And then we find out that Arrow can't read Bella. Or Aro. Aro? Whatever.
I was
Aro.
reading it as Aro.
Yeah, it's Aro. Can't read Bella, so Bella is also immune to him. And we also find out that she is immune to Jane, who is the one who inflicts pain just with her mind. So all good information for Bella.
Right. And the only thing that Bella thinks in that time frame is, I'm a freak. Why do they not affect me like everybody else? And I'm like, bitch, you just saw Edward on the ground. Like, writhing in pain. And you're like, why didn't that happen to me? And you should be happy.
Exactly. She's so stupid. I don't she's like, I'm not special, I'm not whatever, I'm just a little human, but literally none of their abilities work on you, so like
and they even are like, oh man, that's
what are the possibilities once you're a vampire?
We would really love for you to be a vampire. And she's still like, whoa.
Right. So then this is basically where they make the pact with the Volturi that she will change at some point in the near future.
Yeah, and it's only because of Alice.
Right.
Because once again, fucking
Edward.
not even to save her life, in that in that moment, not even to do what he needed to do to save her in that moment. He still couldn't be like, you know what? I recognize that this is not what I want, but I will do this to protect you. Still can't. Instead, it has to be Alice who's like, all right, I'll fucking do it.
Yeah. I'm so like, what the fuck is Edward's problem? This is the woman that you have chosen and has said, like, you love her so much that you would love to be with her forever. Or forever as long as a human is alive. What is your fucking problem? Like, at some point you have to get over the fact that you think they have you have no soul, and like, I don't know. This is so stupid. It's so, I don't know.
Well, I mean, and not to get too philosophical on what love is or anything like that, but like at some point, like doing something that would benefit the other person, even if it means you have to like
make a sacrifice or something.
Make a sacrifice or meet halfway or something like that. Like, literally, it's like, I don't know, like giving a kidney. Like,
right.
I don't know. Like, I know it's not the same because, but like, and I'm not trying to, like I said, be philosophical about like what love is and stuff like that. But like at some point, my man, like.
Yeah. And now literally you have the entire vampire headquarters basically telling you that if you don't change her, you're all gonna die. And you still have this like aversion to it. I'm so confused. Okay. So anyways, they leave the Volturi. They make it back to the airport. And she sees all the Cullens. They're all there waiting for her. And Charlie. And Charlie screaming at Edward to get his hands off of her.
Right.
It's so funny.
So, Charlie acts like an adult. Acts like a parent. Puts his foot down, which I also did not... I don't know why I didn't approve or whatever, but I was just like, man, Charlie is losing his shit about how you disappeared for 3 days. You come back and once again, you've disappeared for 3 days. You come back, you're hurt, or not. I don't think she comes back hurt.
Not
but
this time, yeah.
Once again, it has to do with the Cullens. And he's like making an obvious connection in his brain because he's not privy to all that other information.
Right.
So now he's like, what the fuck? Every time you run off with Edward for 3 days, something happens. And she's like, I'm still gonna live with you, but you're just gonna fucking accept it. And I make the rules.
Yep.
And I was like, you are a fucking bitch.
Yep. She's terrible. So yes, Edward, or Charlie tells Edward that he's never allowed to walk through the door again.
Yeah. So he's like, fine, I'll come in.
I'll
through
just
the
go
window.
in the window. Yes. So yes. And then so for the next like few pages is where he's like, I didn't realize that Victoria was going to come back, and I blah blah blah. I'm sorry, I don't understand how you believed me, which go fuck yourself. You were an asshole, so of course, I mean, I get it. I don't know why she believed him so easily, but at the same time, like, he was kind of a dick.
Mm-hmm.
And then he says, as if there were any way that I could exist without needing you. I know my little 20-year-old self was like, oh my God. Edward, I love you so much.
Such a heartthrob. I'm sure he had reasons. Well, plus he's like talking about while he's gone, he's just basically trying to exist.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yes.
Like,
yes, see, these are all the reasons why I was like, oh, Edward, I love you. I couldn't see all of the dumbness. Okay. Oh, and then I wrote down my next post-it was, holy shit, Bella, just believe him.
Yes.
Because it's literally like 10 pages of him trying to like convince her. And then this is when he tells her his conditions. That if if she marries him, he will change her.
Yes. This part, I was probably, once again, just like, I don't understand Bella. Like, what? Because she's like, I want to be changed, but I don't want to get married.
Yeah. What is this whole thing of her being so afraid to be married? She's like, I can't be married at 18, but you can have him change you at 18 for eternity?
Right.
What's the difference?
Right. And her reasoning, because she does give like a thought bubble to it. I don't know if she voices it, but she does have a thought bubble where she's like, oh, Renee would flip out.
Okay.
What the literal fuck? Are you sure? Like, that's the answer you want to go with?
Right.
Like, that is literally the stupidest thing that I read in the whole book. Is
yes.
Like, I can't commit to you in a marriage because my mom would flip out. But you already said previous to that if you chose Edward, you'd be choosing to not be with your mom or Charlie or Jacob or that life. You would be choosing a different life.
Yep.
Hold up, back up. Now I can't do it because my mom would be sad.
Right.
Like, she'll already...
She's already going to be sad because you've already said that once you change, you can't see her anymore.
Exactly. So I was just like, come on, Stephanie. Like, I assumed that this was just like another thing that she's using as a plot point. Mm-hmm. Like,
yep.
Like, because what did they say? They all voted to change Bella after she graduates.
Yeah.
And I was like, there has to be something where, like, after she wrote that, she didn't want to go back. So she was just like, oh, I'll just write in this new thing, this new condition, and like, so I don't know.
That was the next thing I was going to say, is that she makes them vote on it, which I don't understand because, well, I guess it's because she didn't fully agree to the marriage thing. She said basically his thing was that if you want it to be me that does it, then it has to be after we're married. If you want it to just happen, then we will agree to graduation.
And I thought that happened after they all voted.
Yeah.
So like,
that's yes. That's the final plan. So basically, if she finally decides that she'll get married, it'll be Edward. If not, it'll be Carlisle.
Right, because like you're saying, because up until that point, she agreed to Carlisle doing it, and then afterwards, that was when Edward was like hung the little carrot. Well, I could do it for you, and she's like, "Oh my god, that would be so romantic." Yes. That's the only thing I could think of. She's like, I have to have it be Edward who does it. And he's
Right.
like, all right, well then let's get married. And then she's like, I can't get married. Who the fuck do you think you are? And I'm like,
right. That's actually, so I skipped forward a couple of post-its, and that's where we're finally talking about the wedding and stuff. So yes, I wrote, why is Bella balking at this? So yes. Then she has the conversation with Charlie. Basically, he's like, I want you to stay away from him. And she says, either no or I'll move out.
Yeah, my way or the highway.
Yes.
Which is so selfish. She's like, I'm an adult. I can do adult things. I'll just move out. So why don't you?
So then do that.
Just move out.
Well, also, why didn't you do that when you were so afraid of like something happening to Charlie? You were like, well, me being here is going to hurt Charlie. So then like you should have moved out then. You're 18 now. Go figure it out on your own, you little bitch.
Yeah. I just don't understand Bella in this whole book.
Nope.
She's such a terrible person.
Yes. And then we get to the epilogue, and
oh yeah,
Edward and Bella pull up to the house, and the motorcycle is sitting out front, and Bella's oh shit, Jacob turned me in.
And she's mad about it.
Yes. I do like that she wrote, my motorcycle flaunting itself in the driveway. And Charlie is pissed. But this is when Jacob and Edward kind of have a little conversation, and he thanks Jacob for taking care of her while she was in her mood. But that's basically how it ends, with them back together. Charlie pissed off about the motorcycle. Jacob saying like, I'll still be here for you. And a love triangle to end all love triangles.
Man.
So final thoughts, I'm going to guess, are like 2 stars.
So I wrote this down right when I finished the book.
Okay.
So take it as post-book how Nicole was feeling.
This is like time. Immediately like, oh my God, I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. So in my exact quote was, if Vanessa hadn't picked this book, I would have DNF'd it.
Fair.
And I still feel like I probably would have struggled to finish it. I don't know. I do know that I've DNF books for less.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like, but I also know that if somebody recommends a book to me, I will do, even if I feel like I'm going to DNF it, I will still try to do everything in my power to finish it.
Okay. So
taking that, I guess, both into account, I don't know. I don't even know if I could rate this one.
Okay.
So much negativity from this book because of Bella, but like the storyline is still, I mean, it's still kind of there. I mean, I just feel like there's more drama with Bella and Edward, and I guess now maybe Jacob a little, than there is storyline.
Yeah.
Like, there's only, like, out of a 500-page book, there's only, like, 100 pages of storyline. And it's really hard for me to be like, yes, I enjoy 400 pages of drama. Because that's not true, you know? Like, I need a little bit of story. So
I will say, so New Moon has always been my least favorite of the 4 books. The 4 anythings, movies, books, whatever. But I think the reason it's my least favorite has changed. So when I first read it, it was my least favorite because Edward was gone for so long. And I was like, I need more Edward.
Yeah.
Like, I just wanted to read Edward. And now it's my least favorite because of Bella. Bella really fucking ruins this book. Yeah. If I had more just Bella Jacob best friend time, this book would have been rated like higher. I think I would have enjoyed it more. Less of her just like constantly complaining and whatever. Even some of like the wolf stuff I really liked, just like with the family of the wolf pack and like all of that. So I feel like it's probably a little bit higher than I would have rated it in the past because Edward was being gone for so long. Now with all the stuff with Jacob and me switching my
your
thoughts,
allegiance.
yes, I feel like that kind of like levels some of that out. I still don't know if I could rate it. Maybe a 3.
Yeah.
Just, and most of that might be nostalgia, but like it's just it might even get a little bit more just because it, after all these years, it changed my team.
Nice.
But yeah, I just Bella's rough in this one.
Yeah.
Really rough. I don't remember her being this bad in the next ones. So we'll see how that happens. But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I assume something has to happen that's not her pining for Edward. Like, you know what I mean? Because like she has Edward now. So it's probably, I was like, the worst it could be is more insecurity about Edward and more in confusion about Jacob. Like maybe her feelings for Jacob. I was like, that's probably the only thing I can see from it. Like, oh, okay, I get it. Like, but because I'll tell you what, if this third book is Edward leaving Bella again, and her going through this again, I will not finish the book.
No. Edward does not leave again.
There has to be a new problem.
Yeah. There is definitely a new problem. If I remember correctly, Victoria is like the main focus of book 3.
Okay.
So, yeah, that she's the main like hurdle for the next one. So, much better than the hurdle being Edward leaving and she falling apart like a child.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I'm actually excited. I think Eclipse might be my favorite of them, but we'll see. We'll I'm reserving that judgment for later because I don't fully remember it. But we'll see. So that's that. Okay. Now we get to watch the movie.
All right.
And yeah, that's it. So go to our Instagram, Savor the Story Pod, and tell us any thoughts that you have there, or you could go to our website, savorthestorypod.com, and go to the contact form. Send us all of your thoughts on New Moon so we can talk about them in the Eclipse episode. Or if you have any Eclipse thoughts or Breaking Dawn thoughts, tell us those now. And then we could also talk about them as we're doing the review in the next ones. Yeah, give us all of the thoughts and feelings that you have. And if we got anything wrong.
Yes.
And then also... give us 5 stars. Give us comments. Love us.
Love stars.
Yes. All right. That's it. Thanks guys.
Bye. Get out of here. As soon as Jacob is not there to entertain her, she's like downward spiraling. As soon as Jeezy Pete's, down. Oh my goodness, I still can't say it. Okay, anyway, there's a spiral that's happening, and it's in the direction of downward spiral. There it is.
Got it.
Walked through it. Oh my gosh.